Did you ever wonder how a Cisco IP phone boots up and registers with a communication manager server and gets all its configuration information? Well, let's talk about it. The first thing, and by the way, this can vary a little bit. There's some variations of what I'm going to explain, but this is a very common way of doing it. First, this thing needs power. And we can plug in an Ethernet cable into the back of this phone and plug it into a switch that does power over Ethernet, or PoE, and that's going to allow this to power up. And next up, we need to determine what VLAN we're on. You see, if I'm plugging into, let's say, a Cisco Catalyst switch, maybe it's configured for a multi-VLAN access port, which means I can have a data VLAN and a voice VLAN on the same port while technically not being a trunk. You see, on the back of some of these phones, we have a port to go in to the network where we're getting our power, and there's another port to connect to a PC. We can daisy chain a PC into this phone, and for security, for performance, we might want to keep that PC on a separate VLAN. And if I'm connected to my Cisco Catalyst switch, one way of getting that voice VLAN information is to use CDP. Now, specifically, that's CDP version 2. Version 1 will not work. Next, that I know what VLAN I belong to, I need some IP address information. And how do we commonly get IP address information? DHCP. So I'm going to send out my DHCP Discover broadcast, and we go through the DORA process, you might recall: discover, offer, request, acknowledgement, to get IP address information. But in addition to the IP address and the subnet mask and the default gateway, maybe a DNS server, it's also going to give this another piece of information. It's DHCP option 150, which is an IP address of a TFTP server. So I'm going to go out from this phone to that TFTP server and download a configuration file. One of the things in that configuration file is the IP address of my communications manager server. So then I can reach out to that communications manager server, register, and on some phones, if I'm running a SIP firmware, for example, I might download some additional configuration information from that communications manager server, such as dial rules. I might download that. But that's an overview of a really common way that this Cisco IP phone can boot up from being powered off to being registered with our communications manager server.